Do y'all want to hear what the UAE's defense, part of their defense is at the ICJ, because they're currently being sued by Sudan for facilitating the genocide for the past 2 years? One of their defense is the ICJ doesn't have jurisdiction to investigate them for genocide because when they signed the 1948 Genocide Convention, they had a reservation in there, or a clause that basically says unless they allow to be investigated for genocide, they won't give the ICJ authority to investigate them for genocide. So what's the point of signing it? I went down a little rabbit hole after that and I was like, there's actually no way. And I looked, yeah, unless they allow themselves to be investigated for genocide, they don't give the ICJ authority or jurisdiction to investigate them for genocide. And that's part of their defense. One of them is like, oh, fake, everything is fake and this is a PR stunt. We are not facilitating a genocide. The second one is, you don't even have jurisdiction to investigate us because we're not consenting to it. What nonsense is this? All of these countries, when they became signatories to the Genocide Convention, all included reservations or clauses that says basically until they give consent, they're not giving the ICJ the authority to investigate them for genocide. So what was the point of signing it? Literally, I'm baffled at this. Apparently, this similar argument was used in 2006, where the DRC took Rwanda to the ICJ to accuse them of genocide, like they're still doing right now. And that case was dismissed because when Rwanda signed onto the Genocide Convention, they included that reservation that says unless they give consent, they can't be investigated. And it was dismissed based on the fact that the ICJ did not have jurisdiction to investigate them. What nonsense is this?
More people need to talk about Sudan because Sudan is also currently going through a genocide. They are currently being starved by the UAE. The men, children, women have no food, no clean water. They are also being starved, just like Gaza is being starved by Israel. This year, Sudan took the UAE to the ICJ, accusing them of arming the RSF, which is the group behind the genocide, and being complicit in ethnic cleansing. However, the case was dismissed not because it was false, that it wasn't true, but because there was no jurisdiction. More people need to talk about Sudan because they are also going through a genocide. They are being starved by UAE. This also needs to be brought to attention. Just like we're talking about our brother and sister in Gaza who are being starved by Israel, Sudan is being starved by the UAE. More people need to talk about it, need to share about it, need to be, you need to research, and know what is else that's going on around the world, because many different ethnicities, many different groups, many different countries are being oppressed around the world. It's not just our brother and sister in Gaza, it is not just Sudan, there's also Congo, there's also our brother and sister in Uyghur Muslims, there's the people of Yemen who are still going through humanitarian crisis. There are so many other ethnicities who are being oppressed. So we need to talk about it and we need to bring that to attention so that people out there are aware about it and know what is happening around the world. So please share the video and talk more about Sudan and let the people know what is happening in the other countries around the world. Thank you.
This is just a PSA that Congo and Sudan, right? In Congo, the Israel in that situation is Rwanda. And then in Sudan's situation, the Israel there is the UAE. Guess what country funds both of these countries to do their war crimes? America, yes. Right? So America's funding the UAE to do the genocide in Sudan, and America's funding Rwanda, the entire West is funding Rwanda to do the genocide in Congo. So, yeah.
The United Arab Emirates is trying to divide up Sudan so it can rule part of it while destroying the rest. Let me explain. So for those of you who don't know, Sudan has been involved in a brutal civil war over the last 2 years. Millions of people have been displaced and hundreds of thousands of civilians have been killed. The war emerged when two sides of the Sudanese army started to fight each other. This is the Sudanese Armed Forces as well as the Rapid Support Forces. And while both sides have engaged in atrocities, which is quite typical during a war, is the Rapid Support Forces that has engaged in some of the worst war crimes. This includes, for instance, rape of civilians, the mass killing of people, including their killing in mass graves, and the complete destruction of villages in what many people, including myself, would consider a form of genocide. And as the war has continued, various countries across the world have been kind of choosing who to back. But when it comes to the Rapid Support Forces, it's really just one country that's backing them in their atrocities. That's the United Arab Emirates. So why is the United Arab Emirates doing this? Well, there's two reasons for it. First, Sudan is one of the only countries that has access to the Red Sea, where roughly 1/3 of all global trade passes through on the way to the Suez Canal. The hope of the United Arab Emirates was that if the Rapid Support Forces ended up winning, the UAE would have a base in Port Sudan, allowing them to monitor their ships. But the second reason why the United Arab Emirates is backing Rapid Support Forces is just pure exploitation of gold. The areas the Rapid Support Forces control have a lot of gold, and that gold is sent off to the United Arab Emirates. So yes, it turns out that all those fancy buildings you see in Dubai and Abu Dhabi is not the result of hard work of the UAE's rulers. It's pure exploitation and colonialism. Now, the UAE, as I said, was hoping that the Rapid Support Forces would win the conflict, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Quite quickly, the Sudanese armed forces have been gaining the upper hand, including even capturing the capital city, Khartoum. So now it seems the United Arab Emirates is pursuing a completely different strategy, not to win the war, but to just win part of the countries. We see the regrouping of the Rapid Support Forces to the western part of the country, and they're pretty much going there to establish a stronghold. And I think the hope here for the United Arab Emirates is in doing so, they can continue to extract gold from the country and continue to launch attacks on the rest of it. We saw, for instance, 2 weeks ago, roughly, the United Arab Emirates attacked Port Sudan in a large explosion that killed many people. Needless to say, what the United Arab Emirates is doing is completely condemnable. I hope that this war comes to an end, but unfortunately, as long as the United Arab Emirates is involved, this war is going to continue for quite a lot longer. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my videos. I recommend you check some of the other stuff I do on geography with a more recent focus on Africa. Thank you so much.
Boycott the UAE, reject everything it offers. They continue to fund and support the genocide in Sudan. The United Arab Emirates not only wants Sudanese gold, it also wants Sudanese land. The Nile Valley culture, go and look it up. It is one of the earliest agricultural civilizations on this planet, and it is found exactly where we have the largest humanitarian crisis in the world right now, a hunger crisis, a manufactured famine right now, because the United Arab Emirates is jealous. It does not have the agricultural capacity, the land to feed its own people for now and for generations to come. So what does it do? It goes to Africa, wants to take that land from the Sudanese people, and it is funding the Rapid Support Forces to continue to do that, to continue to terrorize Sudanese people and to dispossess them of their land. This is a manufactured famine, and it is because the UAE has used every single inch, every square inch of the little land that it has to build garish skyscrapers, to build humongous, gigantic shopping malls. It did not think of food for its people. But you know what? It always planned ahead to steal Sudanese land, to dispossess the Sudanese people of their land for food. Not only gold, but also for food. So think about that and reject everything it offers. Emirates, don't fly it. Whatever else they have to offer, don't go there on vacations. Stand with the Sudanese people. Stand on the right side of justice.
Yeah, but do you love Israel? Do you support Israel? So you support Hamas?
Some major breaking news, as it looks like it has been confirmed that the UAE has been secretly deploying its troops in Sudan. Evidence sent to the UN includes photos of Emirati passports found in Sudan, in an area recently taken back by the Sudanese army from the Rapid Support Forces. These documents suggest that the UAE has been helping the RSF, a paramilitary group known for committing serious war crimes such as ethnic cleansing. Experts are calling this a smoking gun, which goes against the UAE's denials of involvement. This is a big deal, as it means the UAE could be directly linked to the RSF's crimes. It also raises questions about what the US and UK, both close allies of the UAE, knew about the support and whether they are also complicit.
Before that, what do you think is the motivations? Why would the UAE support the RSF?
We are the second largest gold producer in Africa. Most of that gold smuggled to UAE. And secondly, they need RSF to act like a proxy for them, to keep it and to maintain it and to develop it and to enable it to be like, to use it as a military muscle, because they think they are in competition with other regional powers, and being a rather small country with very small army, they need a proxy paramilitary that they use. And thirdly, it might also have something to do with the way they perceive what happened, the revolution in Sudan. This model of people revolted against dictatorship and remove it, and managed to remove it, is a threatening example for them.
Why is the United Arab Emirates backing a genocidal militia? Satellite images and UN reports show the UAE is arming a paramilitary group, which is trying to take over Sudan by force. The country's civil war has displaced 12 million people and left 25 million facing acute hunger. The UAE rejects these accusations, but evidence of its role backing the rapid support forces is overwhelming. So why is it involved? One argument is that the UAE wants Sudan's gold. There are multiple gold mines in Sudan, including here, here, and here. And gold is important to the Emirates. The country has become a gold refining hub, and gold is now its most valuable non-hydrocarbon export. But here's the thing, the UAE already imports almost all of Sudan's gold. What's more, the Emirates has a $500 billion economy, so importing slightly more gold doesn't make much of a difference. Another argument is agriculture. Sudan has more land that could be used for farming than any other African country. That interests the UAE, which is highly dependent on imports. As a desert country, 90% of its food comes from abroad. But the UAE already controls tens of thousands of hectares of Sudanese farmland and imports tens of millions of dollars of its crops. Others suggest that the UAE is after geopolitical influence. Sudan has a large coastline on the Red Sea. That makes it a strategic location for trade and security. But there's another explanation, a more compelling one. The UAE seems motivated by ideology. Its president, Mohammed bin Zayed, is fiercely hostile to political Islam. In Sudan, Islamist officers wield power within the army. That seems to be why the UAE is backing a militia that's fighting against the army. It follows a pattern of the Emirates trying to carve out its own sphere of influence, distinct from regional rivals like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. A few years ago, it supported a warlord who unsuccessfully tried to overthrow the government of Libya. It supports secessionists in Yemen. It also backs the leaders of Puntland and Somaliland, two breakaway republics in Somalia. And the UAE is skeptical of the Islamist-led government that has emerged in Syria. But nowhere has its foreign policy had more devastating consequences than in Sudan, where the government accused the UAE of complicity in genocide. The UAE's policy has managed to anger America, China, and Russia, no small feat in 2025. Even though the RSF has lost some ground, there are no signs that Emirati support for the militia is waning. That means its role fueling the world's worst humanitarian crisis looks likely to continue.
Why is the United Arab Emirates backing a genocidal militia? Asks The Economist, as if it doesn't already know. Apparently, according to them, it's about religion. No mention of Coca-Cola or the global demand for certain plants. Once again, religion is being used by Western journalists to obscure geopolitical motives, commercial, corporate motives. Framing this as ideological is dangerous. It's economic. Dubai is a global hub for gold smuggling, money laundering, tax evasion. Coca-Cola, Nestle and Pepsi have been interfering in Sudan for years. Only now they do it through Dubai. Sudan produces 80% of global gum arabic, which is used as a stabilizer in fizzy drinks, and so demand is like insane. It's critical. It says it's critical to Coca-Cola. Critical. Then there's also gold and farmland expansion space, sure, but ultimately it's this. Dubai is an issue because of its light regulation, free trade zones, which allow it global leverage to back Sudanese warlords. This isn't just like bad reporting, it is very dangerous and wrong, and an admission like that is pretty critical. You're not going to mention the main economic incentive for interfering in Sudan. No, we're not going to talk about it at all. The Economist. Actually, do you know what? Who are the Economist's financial backers? Who's their donors? Where's their networks coming from?
The Agnelli family and the wealthy Italian dynasty. They control the holding company Exor. Exor owns a 43% share of the Economist Group. John Elkin, the Agnelli heir, is the chairman of Exor.
So, Italian dynasties. Don't be getting your news off Italian dynasties, okay?
We need to talk about what's going on in Sudan. What's happening there should haunt every single one of us. I know it's hard to watch these videos and to hear all of these atrocities, but it's so important to stay aware of what is going on in the world so that we aren't being complacent. I tend to get very emotional when I talk about these topics, almost always crying, because it genuinely does hurt my heart seeing how these people are being tortured. People are being burned alive in Sudan. Raping women in front of their husbands, in front of their children, killing the husbands, and then proceeding to rape a woman. 15 million people are displaced. They've been going through a famine. They're shooting children in the streets, wiping out entire generations of families. This isn't just a civil war, this is quite literally flat out another genocide that is occurring in our world. And it's happening right now. Bodies are being dumped in mass graves, hospitals are being bombed, entire villages are being turned to ash, and guess who's funding it? The United Arab Emirates. Yeah, the same UAE that has Dubai, where people and influencers go to party and get on yachts and live this luxury lifestyle, and you see them with all this expensive stuff. Yeah, that UAE. They're profiting off of torture, rape, and war crimes in Sudan, and it needs to be talked about so much more than it is because not many people know. A lot of people are aware of what's going on in Sudan, but not many people know who is funding it and who is profiting off of the suffering of people. RSF, which is responsible for all of these horrific actions going on in Sudan, is directly backed and funded by the UAE. Not just with money, but with drones, with airstrikes, with logistics, literally plans, just like the US is with Israel. If you're sitting there asking yourself why, it's because they don't have any of their own resources, like most of the Western world. They benefit off of the resources of Africa and African countries. They want Sudan's gold. Sudan is rich in gold, and I mean extremely abundant in it, as most African countries are abundant in some sort of resource. RSF is letting the UAE illegally mine it so that they can get funded in return. It's quite literally blood money, and it is disgusting to see. Gold gets shipped through Dubai, gets polished, melted, branded, you know what, and then guess where it ends up? On our wrists, on our ears, necklaces. All of the gold that we are wearing could potentially be from the Sudanese genocide. Our electronics are directly from the Congo genocide. The stuff we use day to day is directly from the torture of African bodies, and that is why you need to care. It is so damn important because without the suffering of these people, you wouldn't live the life you live today. Not only is that despicable, you should be loud about it. You should be yelling because there is no reason you should have resources that the African people don't have themselves, but they're being abused for it. While the Sudanese people are being murdered, governments are making thousands, millions, trillions of dollars. Corporations are just getting richer and people are just scrolling on their phones like nothing's happening. It is very important that you're aware of what is going on. And this isn't new. European forces would install rubber quotas, so children and families had to mine for impossible quotas to meet for rubber, and if they did not meet those requirements, their hands would be chopped off. I mean, look at this picture. This is horrific. Babies, children had their hands chopped off so that colonizers could profit. Do you know what it's like to never be safe in your own skin from birth? To be black, to be African, to be Muslim, to be indigenous, to be marginalized. Our tax dollars are helping fund this. You might not be able to stop it, but you damn sure do have a voice. So use it, because Sudan deserves more. Tigray deserves more. The Amhara people deserve more. Congo deserves more. Gaza deserves more. Our Hispanic community in the United States deserves more. Talk about it. Donate if you can. Demand our government stops funding these. And even if it doesn't make a change, at least you know you're doing something. I'm not going to apologize for crying on here. I'm not going to apologize for being so upset about the different genocides that are going on in the community and talking about it and being loud about it. And if you don't like that, get off my page. Do not go in my comments and start leaving nasty hate comments and yada 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 because you don't like the fact that I'm emotional about something that upsets me. You are typing hate from your couch while there are actual people on the ground doing this work. As a United Nations volunteer, it's extremely disrespectful for people to come on my page and say you're not doing enough when I'm informing millions of people as well as volunteering all for free. This is my job. I'm a journalist. I do a lot of activism work. I do service. I'm doing my master's right now, which I'm probably going to get kicked out of the program because I can't afford tuition. And I will start my PhD as soon as I finish my master's. And I can barely afford rent because I chose to do this work, the things that matter, service, justice, and activism, over doing some 9 to 5. Does that mean some nights I don't eat? Yes, but I will never know what it's like to be a 6-year-old in Sudan or in Gaza who's gone 5 days without food or water at all, who is standing in a humanitarian aid line being shot at. And that is heart-wrenching to me, and I'm not going to apologize for crying about it. I have thousands of dollars I have to pay for tuition, for getting my stuff to Spain to do this work, to get trained for a lot of my volunteer work, to do my interviews for exonerees, to fly to prisons, to do work there. You do not know what someone is going through, and I'm not about to take my phone and take my camera into my justice work and use it as a photo op. I don't agree with that. I've said that multiple times on my page, and if you do that, that's totally on you. That's totally fine. It's not part of my morals. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to build a platform off of literally photographing people suffering. That is not who I am.
They are killing us, and the world is silent. That's what a Sudanese civilian said, and they're right. Sudan is experiencing one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world right now, and barely anyone is talking about it. Since April 2023, a brutal war has broken out between two military groups, the Sudanese army and the RSF. What started as a power struggle has turned into ethnic cleansing, massacres, rape and famine. The statistics are horrifying. Over 15,000 killed, 10 million people displaced, the highest in the world, 5 million on the brink of starvation, entire cities burned. In Darfur, entire ethnic groups are being wiped out. This is genocide. This is real. And this is happening right now. But the media barely covers it. Politicians ignore it. The world stays silent. But we don't have to. Here's how you can help.
Donate to these trusted organizations. UNHCR, Refugee Aid, UNHCR.org, MSF, Doctors Without Borders, DoctorsWithoutBorders.org, Islamic Relief, Islamic-Relief.org, Save the Children, SaveTheChildren.org, or search verified GoFundMe campaigns for Sudan crisis to help directly. Share this video. Use your voice. Use your platform. Don't stay silent. Even if you can't donate, you can spread the word. One share, one voice. It matters. Hashtag Stand with Sudan, hashtag Sudan crisis, hashtag End the silence.
We need to talk about what is happening in Sudan. So between the 12th and the 14th of July, the RSF forces executed between 300 to 450 civilians. Let me tell you exactly what they did. They went into these villages. They dragged people out of their homes, execution style, lined them up and shot them. They burnt people in their homes. This is going on all over Sudan, and the RSF is funded by the UAE. So when you go to Dubai on your swanky holidays, this is what you are funding: the mass displacement, starvation, and murder of our Sudanese brothers and sisters. So yes, we stand behind Palestine, but we also stand behind Sudan, Congo, and any other oppressed people in the world. We need to be talking about this. Imagine up to 450 people dragged out of their homes, shot or burnt alive. And don't even make me start on the rapes. Do you not remember last year that 130 women committed suicide rather than face the gang rapes by the RSF? They are raping females as young as 9. It is gang rape done by military troops. Could you even just imagine? So this is what is going on in Sudan, and we need to keep our eyes on there too. We need to be talking about this. Solidarity crosses all boundaries of religion, color, race, nationality.
The United Arab Emirates, Dubai, is bankrolling the Sudanese genocide. Everyone's obsessed with Dubai. Luxury, excess, a playground for the rich. I know people that don't even got money that's saving up to go to Dubai. But while influencers are posing by the Burj Khalifa, a genocide is being bankrolled right across the Red Sea. Dubai is built on blood gold and Sudan is bleeding. The Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, has turned Sudan into a graveyard. They are the same Janjaweed militias that carried out ethnic cleansing in Darfur in the 2000s. Now they've rebranded and returned with more weapons, more power, and more funding. Entire villages wiped out. Women raped in front of their children. Bodies dumped into mass graves. The Masalit people are being exterminated, not as a casualty of war, but as a mission. That's not conflict, that is genocide. And who's arming the butchers? The United Arab Emirates. While the UAE claims to send humanitarian aid to Sudan, satellite data and leaked reports show that these planes carried weapons, drones, trucks, ammo. The RSF is fighting with tools stamped with Emirati fingerprints. But why? Why would a nation with skyscrapers and shopping malls fuel a genocide? It is the resources. The RSF controls the gold mines, and every bar of Sudanese gold smuggled into Dubai props up the RSF forces while enriching Emirati banks, companies, and royal pockets. This is not foreign policy, this is neo-colonialism. Modern day empire, not with armies, but with extraction, blood money, and silence. Every time you post that Dubai content, remember that skyline, that mall, that glittering wealth is subsidized by the plunder of African land, labor, and life. Sudan even brought a case to the International Court of Justice. They said it clearly, the UAE is complicit in genocide. But the court said it didn't have jurisdiction. Translation, no one is stopping them. The UAE funds warlords who burn children, then builds five-star hotels to hide the smoke. This isn't a conflict between equals. This is an empire eating a nation alive. Sudan is dying for Dubai to shine. You can't call it peace when your silence is bought with blood. You can't claim luxury is harmless when it's dripping in genocide. This is the cost of your vacation. And if we don't speak now, Sudan won't be the last.
Learn about a country every day. The United Arab Emirates. The full name is the United Arab Emirates. It's located in the eastern part of the Arabian Peninsula. It shares land borders with Oman and Saudi Arabia, and faces Iran and Qatar across the waters, controlling access to the Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, and Strait of Hormuz. The country covers 83,600 square kilometers. Its capital is Abu Dhabi. The nation consists of 7 emirates, namely Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, Amal Quwain, and Ayman, each with its own capital city. Abu Dhabi is the largest emirate by area. Alone it makes up 87% of the country's total land. As for the most populous emirate, that's undoubtedly Dubai. Dubai hosts the UAE's busiest port, Jebel Ali Port, along with its busiest airport, Dubai International Airport, handling over 86 million passengers just in 2023. But the division of emirates isn't as straightforward as it seems. Take a look. Dubai has an enclave called Hadda near the Omani border. Ayman has 2 enclaves, Manama and Masfout, besides its mainland on the west coast, while Ras Al Khaimah is split into 2 sections, one along the coast, and another inland. Sharjah even has up to 7 separate enclaves. This complex territorial setup stems from pre-Federation tribal times. Hereditary sheiks acquired land through marriages, deals, and wars. This process was often quite arbitrary. Geographically, a significant portion of the country lies in the Rub al-Khali Desert, with an entirely hot desert climate. Annual rainfall averages just about 75 millimeters. Only the northeast features the country's sole mountain range, the Hajar Mountains. Thanks to better moisture retention here, you'll find seasonal streams and ponds. The north also hosts the nation's highest peak, Jebel Jais. Additionally, the UAE has 2 major oases, the Liwa Oasis in the south and the Al Ain Oasis near Oman in the east. These sit atop substantial underground aquifers, but such water reserves mainly support UAE agriculture. As for drinking water, it entirely depends on coastal desalination plants, though the surface appears as unforgiving desert. Beneath flows liquid gold. The UAE ranks 6th globally in oil reserves, with over 95% located in Abu Dhabi. Current proven oil reserves stand at 105 billion barrels, and natural gas reserves at 7.73 trillion cubic meters. Massive stable oil revenues make it the 2nd largest economy in the Gulf region. Yet to reduce reliance on oil, the UAE actively pursues economic diversification. Dubai stands as a remarkably successful example. Population-wise, the UAE has about 10.24 million people. Roughly 88.5% are expatriates. The remainder are Emirati citizens. Arabic is the official language, while English serves as the common language. Religiously, the UAE constitution designates Islam as the state religion. The 2nd largest religion is Hinduism, followed by Christianity. In short, through oil wealth, economic diversification, and international demographics, the UAE has become a shining example of successful transformation in the Gulf.
Why did South Sudan break away from Sudan? Sudan once was the largest country in Africa until it split into 2 in 2011. But why? The majority Christian South felt severely neglected by the majority Muslim North and the government in Khartoum since Sudan's independence in 1956. These tensions eventually led to a horrific civil war that lasted 22 years and in which some 2 million people lost their lives. A peace agreement was finally reached between the parties in 2005, and in 2011 the South was allowed to vote on whether or not to become an independent country. With around 99% of the votes in favor of independence, South Sudan broke away from Sudan on July 9, 2011, creating the world's newest country.
They want to drive a wedge between Africa and the Muslim world, between Africa and the Middle East, and between Muslims and non-Muslims in Africa, because they know that solidarity between us would ruin all their plans. So they pretend, for example, that some Sudanese are Arabs and some are Africans. You know, they talk about Arabized Africans in Sudan. This is all part of trying to distort history and to try to impose a false narrative of Western-style colonization being perpetrated by the Muslims, which isn't something that ever happened. No, Sudanese are Africans. So-called Berbers are Africans. The Somalis are Africans. Nigerians are Africans. I mean, why is it that if they speak Arabic, that somehow makes them outsiders? But you don't call Africans who speak English or Africans who speak French or Afrikaans like they're outsiders. It's just the same old divide and rule tactic that you always use. And you're more desperate now than ever to try to prevent any African, Muslim, and non-Muslim solidarity. That's why you organize and train and arm and fund and back all of these militant jihadi groups in Africa, and everybody knows that you're the ones who are doing it. The French, the British, the Americans, everyone knows that these are your mercenaries, these so-called Islamic militants. Everyone knows that these are just your version of Wagner that you use to destabilize and control. You use their existence in Africa to justify your existence in Africa, which is the only reason why they have an existence in Africa, so that you can pretend that you're there to protect people. You can pretend that you're there to ensure security, but somehow you never make things better. You know, somehow in Niger, in Mali, and Burkina Faso, for example, they've been more effective against those groups, those militant groups, since they kicked you out. No, you're just an old dog with old tricks, but everybody's on to you now. Oh, you have a long and disgraceful history in Africa. There's no getting around that. And you've never changed. This is the problem with you. I'm telling you, everything that you did over the centuries to that continent and to its people, it's doomed you. I don't think that America or the West even have a future unless and until they can do right by Africa, but they won't. They just keep compounding the wrongs of the past. And that is another unique thing about the West. They truly have a complete immunity from learning or evolving or correcting their behavior. Well, I haven't seen people like that never change. That's a special quality that they have. They're absolutely committed to primitivity. They have an insurmountable aversion to developing and civilizing and maturing. All their high-sounding words about values and principles are just used to cover up the fact that they have never actually internalized any of those values, any of those principles. There's no substantive difference between a con man and a mugger, just a difference in style. And that's what you can say so-called Western civilization is. It's the same old barbarism that it always was, but camouflaged with a style that can fool genuinely civilized people into thinking that they're not just muggers. Because you learned that style from our substance. You learned what civilized, sophisticated, moral societies look like when you encountered the Muslim world. So then you ripped off our style so that you could make people believe that you also had the substance that goes along with the style, but you never did have the substance, and you still don't. You came to the global south, came to Africa with barbaric intentions. But you knew that the people were people who were civilized people. They were educated people, decent people. And if you had come with a style that actually reflected your barbaric intentions and your barbaric substance, well, they'd see you a mile away. So you mimicked the style that they were used to, the style of civilized, educated, decent people. That's as much as you have matured. That's as much as you have developed. When you set foot outside of Europe, you discover that there are people in the world who have honor and morality and sophistication. So you learned how to refine your hunting methods. That's all. You did nothing but refine your hunting methods. So no, don't be modest. You are special. You are overachievers. There truly haven't been any people quite like you before. That's a fact. Your so-called civilization is indeed unique in human history. Because if the rest of the world was anything like you, then human history would have ended a long time ago.
Have you ever wondered what an emirate is and why presumably multiple of them joined together to form the United Arab Emirates? Well, in this video I'm going to explain that, as well as how monarchies around the entire world work. In its simplest form, an emirate, for example the Arab nation of Qatar, is any territory that is ruled by an emir. For example, for Qatar that would be Sheikh Tamim. Originally, the term emir meant a military leader or commander, with the English word admiral being derived from emir and the Arabic for commander of the sea. Around the year 600 or 700, emirates began popping up in and around the Arab world, and the term emir basically became synonymous with prince as the ruler of an emirate. Now, usually when people talk about a prince, we're talking about somebody like Prince William, who is the heir to a kingdom, but a prince can also be something entirely unrelated to a kingdom, rather the ruler of a principality. There are a lot of different hierarchies of monarchical systems, but usually they're functionally equivalent. For example, the United Kingdom is a kingdom because the highest possible title is a king. Now, the way that the UK system works, a queen can be the ruler or regnant of the country, however, only if there is no king, because a king is strictly speaking higher in status than a queen. which is why when he was alive, Prince Philip was never a king. Below kings are a lot of other monarchical titles like dukes who rule duchies and princes who rule principalities. While dukes and principalities can be part of a larger kingdom, they can also be independent with nothing above them, including the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg and the independent Principality of Liechtenstein. Emirates are functionally the same thing as a principality or duchy. They can be part of a kingdom or independent like Qatar. There have been many emirates throughout history, as when the Umayyad Caliphate conquered Iberia, it divided Spain and Portugal into a few emirates, as well as many other parts of Europe, including Sicily, Malta, and Crete. Although they used to expand as far as Nigeria and India, emirates today are located almost entirely within the Middle East, with the recent exception of the Emirate of Afghanistan. There are also two other independent emirates, Qatar, as well as Kuwait, with the United Arab Emirates consisting of 7 emirates. These 7 emirates, as well as the Emirates of Qatar and Bahrain, gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1971. Although it was proposed, neither Qatar nor Bahrain wanted to join the other 7 emirates to form the UAE. Bahrain was actually an emirate until 2002 when their leader changed the country to a kingdom because, well, you can, it's just a title. The 7 emirs of the 7 emirates of the UAE actually decide who is going to be both the president and prime minister of the country. However, each prime minister has simply been the emir or sheikh of the Emirate of Dubai, and each prime minister the emir of Abu Dhabi. One other country is comprised of a conglomeration of emirates, being Saudi Arabia, which has 13 provinces, all of which are technically emirates. All 13 provinces, as well as the kingdom itself, are ruled by the House of Saud, hence the name for the country, Saudi Arabia. It's just the part of Arabia ruled by the Saudis.
In the Middle East and
not Middle East,
but
please.
You did not
not
mention,
Middle East.
yeah.
Just a second.
Okay. But yeah, but let me finish and
no,
then
no,
you-
no, no, no. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The minute I hear Middle East, I become upset because this is a colonial language.
What should
It's like third word, like post-colonial. Middle East. Middle what? Middle to who? You have to ask yourself. You are, when we
so
learn.
what is the term to
I
be
tell you,
used?
just wait, patience, patience. Knowledge comes from you ask yourself why. Who called that? Why we are called Middle East? We were named, and we have to study history. We were named the Middle East because we were a British colony. So Egypt was Middle East relative to London. And India was called Far East relative to London because India was also a colony. So now, when I go to London, I say I go to the Middle West. And people laugh. When I go to the United States, I say I'm going to the Far West. And people even laugh. But when she say Middle East, nobody laugh. You see? That's colonialism. That's colonial language that we need to decolonize the language. Go on. So you go on now.
Can I say the Arab word?
No, you can say North Africa.
Oh,
West
Africa and
Asia.
West Asia.
West Asia, North Africa.
It takes more time.